Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. Last week I had mentioned that I had recently put together a UV sterilizer. Now, this is the first sterilizer I've actually made. The techniques I'm using to make it are similar for a lot of other projects I've done, like gluing acrylic and wiring LEDs and that sort of stuff. But there are a few things that are different, and I'm going to go through those as we go along here. First off, that coupling I'd first picked up, the larger one, is the same as this. I've merely removed all the socket joint and machined a flat on it so that it will sit as flush as possible in this acrylic casing. Now the reason for this is UV sterilizers work really well when you maximize the amount of exposure of the water to light and give it as much time as possible to flow past that light. So what's going to happen is that first hole, or either hole, doesn't really matter, it's bilaterally symmetrical, so it doesn't matter. It'll go in one hole, it'll flow down, and then there'll be a center divide, and then it'll flow back up the other way. And now what I need to do is work out the flow rates for the water, and also I need to work out what wattage of UV to use. Commercial ones that I've been using are in the 36 watt range, and I find they're quite effective. They do come in a lot lower wattages, but I've never actually tried one out, so I don't know if they would work. So I want at least 36 watts. I think I'm going to go with 40 to start off with and see how that works out. But the power supply I'm using goes up to 150, which means I can use this up to 120 watts, which I think is going to be massive overkill. But we'll see as we go along. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to silicone in the fittings. Like I said, the acrylic glue for making the chamber itself is the same as for the Chaeto reactor or algae scrubber, and for the Hob filter that I made, and lots of other stuff, so I haven't really told you much about that. You can check out any of those videos if you like, if you want to see more detail on the explanations for that. The only thing different here is I left a little bit of a flange on the outside around the edge so that I can glue from one side. And like I said, the only reason for doing that is when this is together, there's just no way that I'm going to be able to put my fingers inside here to do the gluing. So that's the only reason for that. So most of this I'm going to skip over now. The chamber is going to be finished off with a cap here. Now this is one thing I decided to do because of the shape and also because of the thinness of this. It's going to get dirty on the inside. Now, contrary to what you might think, UV does not kill everything. There are things that will grow quite nicely in it, so it'll need to be cleaned. And I figured, well, the only way I can do that is if I can take it apart. So I decided what I'm going to do is you can see a little sanded edge there on the acrylic. I sanded, roughed it up, and I figured what I'll do is I'll silicone it together, and then what I'll do is I'll put a couple of zip ties along it just to give it a bit more of strength. And then I figure I can, when it comes time, like in a few months, I can just pop this off and then clean it out and put the lid back on and put more zip ties on, and we're good to go. It does look kind of tacky this way, and but it's going to be inside a chamber, so I figured it'd be alright, so I give it a go anyway. So what I'm going to do here now is, here it is finished. Before I put the zip ties on, like I said, you can see all the silicone. It does look kind of bad, but again, like I said, it's not going to be something that anyone's ever going to see because it's going to be inside this. So this is the same process as for the algae scrubber. What I'm going to do is sand a rough spot and silicone it to the rails, and it is actually a really solid build, and I actually really like doing builds this way. So I suspect you're probably going to see a lot more of this style of build in the future. One of the things I haven't covered yet is why use a UV sterilizer, whether you're going to build one or buy one, in the first place. I like them because they're really great for certain types of pests. Good examples of that are ick, because it has a free-floating stage, and also my favorite use for this sort of thing is dealing with unicellular free-floating algae. Algal blooms are really a nuisance. If you ever had one, I get about 2 or 3 a year from people calling me up saying that they want they have pea soup in their water and they want to get rid of it. It's really easy to use a diatomaceous earth filter to give you that initial clarity, but I find it'll just grow back unless you use one of these to eliminate it completely. And the main reason I like UV sterilizers is you don't need to use any chemicals to get rid of whatever pest that you're trying to get rid of. It just has to have that one life cycle criteria. It has to at some point be floating in the water. And there's actually quite a few things that this will deal with. And then, like I said, because the only thing in any danger is whatever goes past the UV light. You don't have to worry about delicate fish. You don't have to worry about your nitrogen cycle. You don't have to take the carbon out of your filter or disturb your filter in any way, shape, or form. The only thing that you need to do, I find, after, well, the most important is after getting rid of an algal bloom, is because you killed off all that algae, a lot of that nutrient is in the water, so you do need to do water changes. But then again, if you have ick issues or any other issues, you're probably going to be doing some water changes as you clear things up anyway, so I guess that's kind of a moot point. So I'm going to just show you a little bit of the soldering here. A lot of the soldering I've done in the past, I've showed you in like 5 times speed. I'm just going to show you a quick one here at the normal speed. Just to give you an example of it, there's no there's no real reason to do at this point. I had just filmed it, so I figured I'd show it to you. Now, as I said in the beginning of this is the first time I've actually ever built a UV sterilizer, and you might be asking yourself, how am I going to know if it's actually going to work? And that's actually a really good question, because I don't have any ick outbreaks at the moment. I actually don't ever get those. I have no algal blooms that anyone's called me for. That may happen a little later in the spring, because it's usually the spring and the fall that those seem to show up. But I actually do have a client, and this is actually who this is being built for, that has an indoor pond, and that pond they test for floating bacteria in the water, a certain species they're interested in. So because they're doing live counts, I will know actually quite well how this works out, and that's actually kind of cool. If it wasn't for that, I would have to actually wait for the next algae bloom or go to the trouble of creating one in an aquarium. It's actually not that hard to do, but fortunately I don't have to do that. So there is actually a design flaw in this UV sterilizer. I kind of had an inkling in the back of my mind as I was building it that it might be a problem. I was kind of hoping that because of the low water pressures that this is going to operate at, that it wouldn't crop up. The silicone job I did for joining these together is actually not sufficient to hold it together, which is kind of weird, because I used to build denitrification filters a long time ago, and I used to silicone the tops of those things on, and they're made out of acrylic, and it worked quite well, but apparently not this time. So here it is. It's hooked up. I just put it on my system temporarily. There's nothing for it to do here other than just make sure it flows properly, and I want to make sure the lights last and everything, that sort of stuff. Just general mechanical stuff. So this is getting near the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you, I actually let it run for, I think it was about a week and a half. And I was thinking that, yeah, it's doing pretty good. I think I was set. And then I came down, and this is what it was doing. The seam had let go. Nice thing about it is it does handle a break in its integrity quite well, because it didn't touch any of the wiring, which is silicone anyway, but it didn't get any of that wet. So I built myself, this is a complete sealed unit. It's all done with acrylic glue, so it won't break, and it is, unfortunately, because of that, disposable. So in a few months, when this gets dark, it's going to have to be replaced. So here it is running now, and it runs perfectly fine. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week in another video. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.